This is a similar flaw question, so we're looking for the flaw in the passage, and then we want to find an answer choice that's engaging in that same flaw. The big difference between this and a regular flaw question is that we're more inclined to diagram, because if we can build a template of what's going wrong up here, we can use that template to find a similarly flawed answer choice in the answers. And so the conclusion here is that we should accept the proposal to demolish the old train station, and the evidence is that the people who don't want us to do it, they're not committed to long-term economic well-being. Right? So these guys, they don't want us to destroy the old train station, the local historical society, but they have no commitment to long-term economic well-being, and plus preserving old buildings gets in the way of new development, which is critical to economic health. Now this is actually a pretty reasonable argument, right? If preserving old buildings gets in the way of new development, which kind of hurts your economic health, that would be an okay reason to maybe get rid of an old building. But this up here feels like ad hominem. Right? Just because these guys are kind of like, they have this bad quality where they have no commitment to long-term economic well-being, and they don't like it, doesn't mean that that's a reason for us to like it. So that's really, of the two premises, this one is the one that's really engaging in the flaw. It's assuming that we should do something because those who oppose it have some bad qualities. And so, honestly, I'm not really expecting this one to be copied in the answer choices. It very well could be, but I'm not going to like demand that or eliminate an answer choice because it doesn't have the good premise. Because I feel like we have a bad premise and a good premise, and when you're finding a similar flaw, or when you're paralleling the flaw, you only need to parallel the messed up part. You don't need to parallel the good parts. And I feel like this premise is pretty good. So I'm looking to use this same assumption. Let's find an answer choice. The first sentence in answer choice A sounds like it's going to be the conclusion. It says we should try to safeguard the works that we think have national cultural significance. And so they're going to go on to tell us why. Now, I like to anticipate these halfway through. So I'm halfway through here. I got the conclusion down. So we're going to say that we should attempt to safeguard these works. And then I want the evidence to say, because there are people who don't think that we should keep them, and they're bad people. They have some negative quality. And then it says these works might not be recognized as masterpieces by all taxpayers or even all critics. Nevertheless, we ought to spend whatever money we need to procure all of these works when they become available. There's no bad people here who are on the other side of this. And that's kind of the key feature of what went wrong in the passage. There's this group that doesn't want to do what we're advocating, but we're going to point out that they have this negative quality, and that's supposed to support our position, right? We got to be using this assumption, and A isn't really using that assumption. So let's keep looking. Documents that are important should be properly preserved and archived for the sake of future generations. That also feels conclusion-y. So I want there to be people who don't think we should do this, and then I want to hear that they're bad people. For even if these documents are damaged or lost, the integrity of the historical record. So you can lose one or two of them, but that doesn't make it sound like we have to preserve all of them. This points out that if you save most of them, you're in pretty good shape. But there's nobody, see, this is saying we should save them. There's got to be some people on the other side of that, and then we got to point out a negative quality about them. That's the real flaw from the passage. That's really the only thing that went wrong in the passage. You should have your hair cut no more than once a month. So I want to hear that there's somebody who disagrees. Beauticians, oh, there we go. They say do it twice a month, but they're like self-motivated, right? They're sort of selfish. And so this is ad hominem as well. Now I'm going to go back to the passage and see if these guys were self-motivated. No, it's a different kind of ad hominem. So this is just in general like a bad quality, right? So we have somebody on the other side of it, and we're saying there's something negative, or they're self-interested, or they've got a negative quality, so we should do the opposite of what they're telling us to do. It's also sort of, you could look at it as an absence of evidence fallacy. Just because the people on the other side of it are giving you bad evidence, that doesn't support your side. It kind of just gets you back to square one. And so C is the one we're going to like. Let's see what's wrong with the D&E though. So the committee should endorse the plan to postpone construction. I want to hear that there are people who think we shouldn't, and they're bad people. Many residents of the neighborhoods that would be affected are fervently opposed to that construction. Oh, but you see, they're not opposed to postponing it, right? So this is saying the committee should postpone it because there are people who don't want it, and we should listen to their opinions. So this isn't these people aren't on the other side. Everybody here is on the same side. The committee says, whoa, we shouldn't do construction. We should postpone it because the people who live there don't want it. So this is all one-sided. There's no other side who's got some negative quality. One shouldn't borrow small amounts of money unless you absolutely need to. Then I want to hear that some people say that you should, but they're bad people. Once you borrow a little bit, interest accumulates, it takes a long time, you get a bigger debt. There's nobody on the other side of this. And so only answer choice C has someone on the other side of the argument who we criticize, and that's what we're looking for. That's the flaw in this argument.